Hello, hello.
Good afternoon.
Long time no talk.
I know. We were off last week for Thanksgiving, and now it feels like Thanksgiving was a long time ago. I don't know why.
Yeah, so much has happened since then.
Mm-hmm.
How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Yeah, we stayed here in Minneapolis, and all our family is back in California. So went to a friend's Thanksgiving and got to pretend to be a family member for a day and partake in all the usual trappings. It was good. Yeah,
Cool. It's fun. Yeah, I did some family stuff. Nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yep, stayed local.
That's good.
Yeah. It's finally snowing here, by the way.
Yeah, we've gotten quite a bit. I feel like we've gotten at least a foot of snow.
Oh,
over
wow.
the past
Yeah,
few
we
weeks.
have not.
Yeah.
I'm pretty into it, though. It's like the first snow while it's still exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the novelty's still there. I went, got the cross country skis out and went skiing.
Oh, cool.
A couple days ago, and I'm super sore because it's like working muscles that haven't been worked in that way for 8 months or whatever.
Yeah, it's such a weird motion.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah. Cool. So what's going on with you?
Yeah, so I shipped a couple things recently that I feel pretty good about.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I even talked about this last time that I was working on a MailChimp integration. You know, this is like, from a technical perspective, not a huge undertaking, but was taking me a little longer than I had hoped, just because there were some foundational things involved with making a form action actually interact with a third-party service and accept, API keys and have a way to store those securely and kind of make the user experience really smooth for getting all that wired up. And I kind of invested, a lot of time into making sure that, when you attempt to deploy a configuration and you haven't set your API key, for example, that right there in the CLI, it'll give you, very clear, detailed instructions on where to find it, what command you should run, and, really just trying to make the developer experience such that you almost wouldn't even have to read the docs. You could just drop in the bit of sample code that I give you, try to deploy, and then use error-driven development basically to kind of work your way towards having a working setup. I wish it had been really fast to bang out, but it just takes a lot of time to think through what's the best way to present this, and how do I colorize my terminal output well so that it looks appealing to the eye and just makes you feel like you can totally see the clear path forward. And there's systems like Elm that are really good at doing this, right? And I kind of set the bar close to that level for myself, and how can I get this to just be really, really good? And so, it took a lot of time, but tried not to let myself perfect everything too much and spend way too much time on it. So I got that shipped, and then that was well received on the Twitter sphere, and wrote all the docs for it, wrote up a guide for it. So I did a feature specific landing page for opt-in forms and kind of tweaked the way I'm presenting features right from the homepage, from saying, this is forms and it can do a bunch of stuff, to StaticKit allows you to build contact forms. It allows you to build opt-in forms, and trying to position things more around what's the job to be done, and less around this is just a form solution. And then that kind of paved the way for, you can drill down now into one of those specific jobs to be done and see a specific landing page around that feature. And so, it was fun. It was a fun exercise, kind of thinking about what's the best way to pitch someone on using StaticKit for their opt-in forms. And the main pain around that is the feeling of popping open your MailChimp account, or even your Drip account, your ConvertKit account, and seeing the default markup that comes from an ESP. It's usually some mix of some default styles, so it doesn't look like complete crap when you paste it into your website. But then usually you actually want to, strip all that away and style it according to your own methodology for styling. If you're using something like Tailwind, then you just want to you want the bare minimum of markup necessary, and then you want to, build it like you would normally build your website. And so that's usually not the experience you get from an ESP. And even worse, a lot of times there's bits of, data attributes or fields named in a very cryptic, specific way. And you're are these the field names I have to use? And how do I actually customize behavior around this? Can I submit this via Ajax? Am I going to run into a CORS problem? There's just a lot of uncertainty in trying to take one of those pre-built form buildery type markup forms and make it work how you want it to. So I got to kind of play with some messaging around that, specifically around that feature. And so that was a good exercise, and we'll be, applying that to future use cases.
Nice. Did you do much like launching of this thing or like promoting of this feature once it was out there?
Yeah, so I kind of took like a gradually soft launch it and then build the landing page and put it up quietly. I did do a bit of like teasing of kind of the work in progress on Twitter, because that stuff seems to get shared around and kind of amplified by the community. I like to see the way things are coming together. And I specifically did that a lot around when I was crafting like the copy on that page. Like I shared some work in progress and then got a bunch of people responding like, you said ESP and I don't even know what that means. And just like good, kind of just taking a temperature gauge of how does this resonate with people. That was pretty helpful. And I had like Ali Bloom chimed in a couple times, kind of a copywriting expert around onboarding and stuff like that. So it was cool like to have these conversations that maybe would normally happen like in private, like reaching out to somebody and getting their feedback from an expert, but just like having the community giving their take and then an expert kind of chiming in, like it was kind of a cool thing.
That is super nice. That's one of the great things about Twitter, I feel like.
Yeah.
When it's working well, is that.
Yep. Totally.
Although I feel like you also have people that think they're experts. Like,
yeah.
Cool.
Sometimes you got to be ready to just say, "Oh, thanks for your feedback." Sometimes.
I'm employing that trick more and more.
Yeah. Yep. To follow on the MailChimp thing, I actually didn't email my customer list yet about it. I kind of wanted to come out with more than one integration for email providers, just because I wanted to signal that this is not just a MailChimp integration. I'm providing opt-in forms and I'm integrating with the most popular platforms. And by the way, I'm like want to hear others that you want to see me integrate with. I wanted to use this as a test to see like, did I lay the foundations well so that I could knock out another integration with the provider in a relatively short amount of time. And so I think I clocked in right around 3 hours to build the ConvertKit integration, which I was pretty happy with that. Like I was able to mostly copy and paste a lot of like kind of the boilerplate that I wrote for the MailChimp integration and was able to refactor some stuff into reusable classes and modules and stuff so that to make it even easier as I drop in more. But that's kind of the goal, is like, how can I structure this so that I can kind of attack the long tail of integrations that people want? Because I think that's where a lot of growth potential is, and just having a large variety of integrations for specific uses.
I imagine it's nice to have kind of like a punch list like that, where it's like, well, here's a list of things I can build that are all probably useful and will probably increase the utility of this product nicely.
Yep, totally.
But none of them are probably too scary, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that this is where I'm like feeling really good about the decision to go towards the config file approach, because it makes this so easy compared to having to think through like what's the user interface flow for this, and like, oh, now I got to do another OAuth flow for this other provider, and like, I don't know, there's just a lot more to consider when you're having to build UI for all those things, because I did that at Drip, with Drip automations and wiring up integrations, and we got it pretty templatized, but it was still quite a bit, orders of magnitude more work than what like building this ConvertKit integration was, for example. So yeah, feeling good about that.
Yeah, I think that decision, especially right now, makes a lot of sense when it lets you iterate on the core product faster and not have to do so much work for a new feature. That's kind of awesome.
Yep. That's kind of what I'm trying to optimize for right now. And also get people in the door who are pretty technical and like are really comfortable writing front end code, don't want to spend their time writing back end code, but are cool with like dropping things into a JSON file. Like that's not scary to them. And that's really the kind of user I want to attract right now anyways. And then maybe down the line, people who are a bit less technical and more in the no code type of community with varying degrees of technical expertise, then maybe it'll make sense to like bring this into the UI at some point. But yeah, I think for now, this is also a good like filter to help self-select kind of a good first audience.
Totally. I mean, it's almost like a positioning exercise or effect.
Right. As I keep iterating on how to position this on the marketing site, and one thing I think could be cool is just like, say, for this specific integration, I wrote 527 lines of code to write this integration, and you're just going to have to write 3 lines of config to utilize that. And like kind of just juxtaposing like, yeah, I mean, you're a developer, potentially you're a developer with backend skills, and yeah, maybe you could write this on your own. But guess what? it took this much code plus testing plus error handling all the non-happy paths. And so do you really want to do that, or do you just want to use this drop-in plugin for me? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So
it occurs to me that, and maybe you already thought of this and don't care, are putting yourself kind of in the get a page when it's down in the middle of the night kind of app.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, totally.
Any concerns on that?
It's not ideal. Like, it's one of my initial criteria was like, don't be so mission critical that that page may happen. But I think you just can't always get what you ideally want. And so I'm willing to live with some, deviating a little bit from the ideal criteria.
Yeah. I tweeted that thing this weekend about that email tool idea I had.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, that does seem fun. But like one of the things I realized about it is like, if I built this and people used it, they would need it to work. And if it stopped working, I would be upset in like legitimate ways. And I was like, ooh, that really makes me want to not do it as a side project.
Yep. No, and that's true. And so I think I talked about this early on in the development of StaticKit, that like I want to, as much as possible, try to leverage higher levels of abstraction in the platform as a service space. So like, I'm on Heroku right now for a lot of the core app functionality, but also have quite a bit hosted on Zeit, which kind of sits on top of, Lambda and Google Cloud Functions and provides an abstraction layer on top of that. And so I basically just want to try to outsource as much DevOps as possible. And I'm still looking for ways to make this even less of my problem and more of the problem of my provider, so that ideally, like, it just limits the amount of potential like middle of the night DevOps debugging I would have to do to keep this service healthy.
I have a thing on that for my section.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Can't wait to hear about it. Cool. Yeah. So last things for me. So I'm starting, now that I have those two integrations, I'm starting to look closely at the Stripe integration, which I think is going to be really increase the value of StaticKit. So I'm really excited to get that rolling.
What is like your rough draft of what that will do?
I've been having some conversations actually with folks, because when I talked about payments, I kind of brought some people out of the woodwork who were kind of interested in like, what do you have in mind, and kind of sharing their needs and their use cases with me. And something that's really become evident, and it's pretty like late breaking, like a lot of the European new regulations around two-factor authentication for payments that's going into effect, called, I think, SCA, Strong Customer Authentication. That's the next wave. Everything is going to be gradually moving over to that in the Stripe ecosystem. And like, it makes wiring up even like what used to be simple, take a credit card, execute a charge. When the charge succeeds, then fulfill the order right away for, say, an ebook or something like that, right? And now even things that used to be simple like that are just way more difficult with SCA, because there's a possibility that attempting to charge a customer, even for like a simple one-off thing, will trigger some kind of like email authentication flow where they receive an email, have to like validate that, yes, I tried to make this charge. And then like asynchronously at some point in the future, you'll get pinged back that like, yep, the charge went through, or no, it didn't. So it makes even simple flows really difficult, and setting up things like subscriptions where you're not charging people right there when they're in session, but off session charges, that's all getting more tricky to deal with. And so Stripe is providing a lot of interesting kind of low level primitives to deal with this. Like, instead of doing the tokenizing the card on the front end and then persisting that against a customer, now you have to start your thing by kicking off an intent, a payment intent from the server side. And then the front end, it attaches, you can attach a card using like their JavaScript library to that intent, and then you can asynchronously execute that charge, get a webhook back. So there's a lot more like server-side stuff going on than there used to be. And so I think that's really a big opportunity for me to kind of provide an abstraction on top of all of that server-side back and forth, kick off the intent, consume the webhook, blah, blah, blah. Kind of try to return it back to the smoothness that it used to be with the old style, but just, this is all SCA ready, and it's all wrapped up in this nice package for you.
Yeah, that does actually sound interesting. So like, if you are a front-end person, the back-end components of that could be intimidatingly complex.
Oh, totally. Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. I don't want to get into becoming like a full e-commerce provider with managing your catalog of SKUs and all that kind of stuff, right? Like there's specialized applications for that, even like using Shopify in a headless fashion. There's Snipcart. There's a bunch of ecosystem providers that do that. So I don't really want to get into that, but I could see like even like a SaaS marketing site, for example. Like if I'm even gonna have to reevaluate how I'm taking credit cards for StaticKit right now, and I think a lot of that could be really complicated if I try to be SCA ready. But perhaps I could just utilize my own stuff and like handle all the fulfillment using front end code plus StaticKit to like get all of the like card on file, kick off the initial subscription, and when it's all done, just send a webhook to my backend code base so that I know like here's the IDs that you need to store in the database, and like it's all good to go. So I think it could be useful for SaaS applications even to like kind of offload a lot of that stuff.
Is SCA like a Europe thing only, or is that everybody?
Yeah, it's Europe only right now, I think. But it is like also a Visa MasterCard thing that's happening in Europe. And so I think the thinking is like this type of, additional authentication stuff will very likely start leaking into the US and other parts of the world. I think US tends to lag a little bit in the payment technology in general. But yeah, sounds like it's coming in. Like if I look at who's signing up for, I think this affects SaaS providers especially, I think, like who's signing up for your SaaS app, like a majority of the people using StaticKit are not in the US. So it really impacts a lot of folks who, appear to be in Europe or just non-North America.
Interesting. This makes you want to look for us too. I'm curious now. Last time I checked, it was mostly US and then like some Europe, but less. I don't know. This SCA thing, like I get why for the world it's good, but like also I was pretty happy with the old way where like some fraud happened and that's a bummer, but like it was absorbed by people that were not me. And things that decreased my conversion rates were not happening. And I didn't have to deal with this.
It's really all about shifting liability, right? And kind of it pushes more liability away from, I think, credit card processors like Visa and MasterCard, how much fraud they had to deal with and chargebacks. And they're basically saying like, no, we're going to put all these layers of multi-factor authentication on top of our stuff. So now it's like, it's your problem to deal with, not ours, because it like probably severely reduces the amount of fraud happening on their end. So yeah.
Yep. I get it. I mean, I understand why they want it.
Yep. Yeah. But I see this as an opportunity, like it makes total sense to me. Like Stripe, I'm diving into their docs. They're very well written. They kind of describe like, here's why we have to do these things this way now. And here's why you can't, everything kind of has to be asynchronous because there may be out of band stuff, verification that happens. And I kind of can see the boundaries of where they draw the line on what they provide. And I think this is just a great opportunity for, for someone like me to come in and like kind of make this a nicer experience for specific use cases. Like they have the primitives and then someone can kind of wrap it up.
Very interesting. I mean, that is a little scary though, because Stripe does tend to move up from the primitives.
Yeah. Only to a certain level though. Like even their checkout stuff is, it's like, the very simplest use cases are handled, and they're mainly hosted. Like if you want to be SCA ready with checkout flows, you get redirected to Stripe's checkout page basically. For some, that's okay. For others, they really want to control the experience and have it live on their site. So I think yeah, it's possible that Stripe will get into that, but I'm just picturing like the things that the tooling that I'm going to be building. Like I can't imagine Stripe like offering all of this in their product, I think. So I guess I'm not too scared. So what do you got going on?
Not a ton this time. So a kind of great moment happened last week. So Joel left for the week for Thanksgiving. And so he was down in Charlotte, and Spencer and I got together on Monday and we worked for a while, and we got to the end of the day. And I was like, so what do you want to do tomorrow? Like go to my house, like come to my apartment, go to your apartment. What should we do? And Spencer was like, are you working on like anything big? And I was like, no, not really. I kind of just shipped this thing. I'm sort of at a stopping point. He's like, do you want to just take the rest of the week off? And I was like, yeah, definitely. Sounds great. So that was like kind of like to me, like a wonderful moment in like startup life, kind of quality of life thing. We just decided like, yeah, let's just do this, and we can, and it'll be fine. And it just felt really good.
Yeah, that's really nice. Because often the tendency is to do the opposite. Like for me, I got asked like, by someone like, oh, so Friday, are you taking the day off? Are you working? And I'm like, I work for myself, so I'm probably going to get some work done anyways. Like, and that's not necessarily the healthiest attitude to always have, right? Like on the one hand, you can sometimes take joy in hustling when other people are off, but then it's also like sometimes good to leverage the fact that you don't have a boss lording over you telling you have to work. Give yourself some time to rest.
I think the beauty is the flexibility.
Yep.
It's deciding which one you want to do. And they're both good answers for various reasons. It felt a little bit like, we've kind of arrived a little bit. It's like nothing's on fire. We have a good engine. The engine will keep turning if we go and take a couple days off for Thanksgiving, and things are good. That felt nice. Another cool thing that's going on is, so I believe I've settled on Customer IO for our transactional emails now. So Drip has been just changing the positioning and saying, hey, we're not for you anymore. And so I've decided to take its word for it.
Yeah.
And have been looking around for an alternative. And of the things I've tried so far, this has felt like the best fit to me. And I've spun up a couple like campaigns, and I'm sending a lot of data there through Segment, and it's working kind of nicely. And like today, I did a thing that I've been wanting to do for so long, but like there was all this infrastructure work required to get it going, which is the first time you give a 5-star call rating to ask you like, hey, would you mind tweeting about Tuple? Like this is how a lot of people hear about us, and you just had a great experience. Could you share that? It took like 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get that thing all wired up after many, many hours of a bunch of like core infrastructure work. But now it's finally like it was like the victory lap on like a very long process.
Right. Is it basically set up in a way where you just send events, like every single rating gets piped in, and then you can configure rules in Customer IO that basically says, if this is the first instance of this event, then send this thing? Is that kind of how it works?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
that's cool.
And I actually tweaked it a little bit. My original plan was just to do the first one, but now I have it. The thing I'm going to try is basically every 6 months, you become eligible to get this email again after you give a 5-star rating. So we'll do it once and then not bother you for 6 months, and then it'll ask you again. That might not be the best way to do it, but it was nice that option was there. Like you can set kind of how often and when and under what conditions can this recur.
Got it. Very nice. Yeah.
I'm digging Customer IO. It's very, it feels very nerd focused. Like it's sort of unapologetically technical and nerdy, and lots of options and switches and metrics and stuff. And I'm appreciating it as that kind of person.
Yeah, totally. Because it's hard, as I'm learning, it's hard to offer power and flexibility if you can't just go all in on like assuming a certain level of technical prowess, And so it's cool that they kind of leaned into that.
Yeah, and I like that. Like that's what I'm looking for this kind of thing. And so I appreciate that they're unapologetically like that. Like I don't really, for me, I don't want the like, oh, it's so simple kind of thing for this. Like I want the tweakability. And like some of this is probably just like wishful thinking or something, just like me imagining that I'm a more sophisticated transactional emailer than I am. And in fact, the basics would probably get me done, like get me by, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the fantasy.
Yeah.
So that has been good. On the not as good infrastructure side, I think I mentioned this a couple of times in the past, like we're bumping into our first like scaling issues. We're using Heroku, which makes it easier to throw money at the problem if the problem is like capacity. But it's starting to seem like maybe the problem is not quite capacity. Like we have the situation that I'm not used to dealing with architecturally, where there are thousands of people connected to the server for like forever. Like they have open WebSockets connection through Action Cable. And it's time sensitive. Like that has to be up to date within like who just signed on, and also who's calling me right now, and did that call get terminated or whatnot. It mostly works fine, and then we'll just have the situation crop up that we don't really understand fully yet, where it's like, oh, everything is slowing down. Heroku's giving us all these warnings, and the things are going slower, and the calls aren't going through. Like, what is happening? We're in this sort of first phase of like, okay, something is wrong, but we don't really know what yet. And so we talked about, well, we could try this or this or this. It's like, no. We have to step back and figure out what the actual thing is. Like, let's start like drawing X's through parts of the infrastructure that we have found evidence that show us it's not this. So like the first thing we're doing is basically just getting better metrics and logging in place to make sure we can actually dive into this and say, why is this slow? Where in this chain are we getting stuck?
Yeah. I mean, does it seem like it's either memory or CPU at this point? Like, is that popping up?
That has been a problem. We would see memory use grow like crazy, and then to the point where Heroku would be like, no, there's not enough memory. I'm going to die. And so we are paying for the really expensive like performance giant dyno things. And that was like, okay, that fixed that problem, but we're still seeing, it seems like we're still seeing delays and backups even when there's not memory pressure happening.
It actually surprised me quite a bit when kind of that action cable stuff got put into Rails core, because Ruby is historically not very good at concurrency, at like multi-threaded operations and lots of concurrent stuff. I don't know what kind of magic they're doing behind the scenes to make that even work.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So, yeah.
We are slightly tempted to like change, like depending on what the culprit turns out to be, but there are other languages and frameworks and servers and things like that that are good at this kind of thing.
Elixir.
Yeah, Elixir is great at this particular job.
Yeah.
I'm not eager to jump into now we have a distributed system architecture.
No, I get it. Yep.
If we can all avoid it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not the problem. Maybe it's something else. Like maybe it's as simple as like we have a query that is way too inefficient that's slowing everything down. Who knows? So that's the first step, is to actually figure it out. But that could be the eventual answer, is like, okay, this part of the application should not be a Ruby app.
I guess the third option, and so it's like rewrite and still host your own WebSockets in a different application, or pull a third-party service like Pusher or something like that, right? Which, I mean, there's trade-offs with that as well, but then it's just like outsource all the WebSockety things, then translate it down into webhooks and HTTP requests, which a web server can handle much more easily.
I'm not even sure. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah. They like hosted WebSockets basically is what Pusher does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That may be what we want. TBD, we'll see. Like I said, first step is figuring out, okay, there's a bunch of components that could be guilty. Let's make sure we actually are going to fix the one that's actually the problem. As fun as Elixir would be, I do want to write some Elixir. That sounds like a good time.
Mm-hmm.
But that means I probably shouldn't do it, because
yeah, would still be probably hopefully much faster to just diagnose the bug and fix it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's just like, oh, we just need a faster database tier. Okay, it's an extra $200 a month. Next problem. But we'll see. We've done that a few times now, and so far that has worked. But it seems like we have now bumped up against, okay, something actually wrong is wrong, more wrong than we can just throw resources at.
Right. And potentially you may find out that it's just like, oh, we can only handle 500 open connections on a dyno or something, and then it's just a dyno scaling issue,
Right, exactly. We want to go horizontal. Yep, that could be. We'll see. Well, the good news is there are people out there in the world that have done this before. So if we get stuck, surely we can solve this problem somehow with somebody.
Totally. In fact, after talking about it on this podcast, you might get unsolicited outreach. It has been known to happen.
It definitely happens. And I mostly appreciate it.
Yeah, me too.
Except when people say, why don't you just blank, blank, blank?
Yeah. Yep.
Feel free to offer ideas if you have them, although I don't quite know what the smoking gun is yet, so it might be better to wait till there's more details. But yeah, that's it in my world. Coming up on December. Hey, November was our best month, by the way, in terms of growth.
Oh, congrats.
Yes, set a new record.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Very nice.
So, yeah, that's pretty good. Nice way to start the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So any specific plans for December? I mean, it's not typically known to be a great SaaS sales month. So are you guys, are you dialing back marketing? Are you keeping it kind of steady? Like I'm
trying to get some t-shirts made.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Trying to record some podcasts. We chatted a bit today. I don't think we quite have explicit, like, here's our goal for December. We set some quarterly goals that will wrap up at the end of this month. We're pretty much on track for those, so I'm not sure that it's going to require any like last minute Herculean efforts. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not quite sure what the month is going to look like yet. I have a hunch it might be kind of light with the holidays and whatnot, and just not trying to fight the tide, I guess. Like, it's going to be kind of slow. That's kind of how it is. That's okay. Maybe do some infrastructure kind of work while it's a little bit quieter.
Yeah. I haven't done a ton of planning myself for it, but I kind of see it as like, I don't know. I might end up just continuing to drip out like work in progress and trying to keep people excited about stuff. On the flip side, I might try to do some deep like investment in some really cool stuff that I can then like promote right after the first of the year or something, like. So,
yeah, that seems sensible.
Yeah. Maybe a mix of both.
Yeah. Maybe I'll start a complicated mission critical side project just for fun.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably not a great idea.
All right. Anything else for you?
No, I think that's it.
Cool. You want to wrap it?
Yeah, let's wrap it.
Show notes.
Show notes can be found at artofproductpodcast.com.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.